From watching the greatest Christian empire in the world kneel toward Mecca, to a Byzantine emperor trading his cross for a crescent, to an alternate timeline where the Ottomans never needed to fire a single cannon. This is What If Constantinople Turned Muslim? Before the Ottomans, explained. A what-if so wild that historians barely dare whisper it. But the seeds were actually there, and if just a few things had gone differently, the entire story of the medieval world flips upside down. But let's rewind. It's the year 330 AD. Emperor Constantine I, a man so obsessed with legacy he literally named a city after himself, moves the capital of the Roman Empire east to a tiny peninsula jutting into the Bosphorus. He calls it Constantinople. And for the next 1,000 years, this city becomes the beating heart of Christian civilization. The Hagia Sophia, the golden domes, the walls that never fell until they did. Spoiler alert, they eventually fell. But what if they didn't have to, 'cause the empire converted first? Here's the thing. By the 7th century, Islam had exploded out of the Arabian Peninsula like nothing the ancient world had ever seen. In under 100 years, Muslim armies had swallowed Persia, Egypt, North Africa, and Spain. The Byzantine Empire was losing territory on every front, and the emperor in Constantinople, watching his empire shrink like a wet cloth in the sun. And this is the part historians always skip. There were actual moments, real, documented moments, where Byzantine rulers flirted with accommodation, with compromise, with survival deals that could have reshaped everything. So let's play the alternate history game for real. What would it actually take for Constantinople to turn Muslim before 1453? And what would the world look like if it did? The conditions were in place in 3 stages. Number 1, military collapse. By the 630s, Byzantine Emperor Heraclius had just finished a brutal war against Persia. The man was exhausted. His treasury was empty. His armies were bled dry. And right at that moment, the armies of the early Islamic Caliphate came knocking. Yeah, timing. Real great. Number 2, theological proximity. Islam in its early form wasn't that far from Eastern Christianity in certain key ways. Both were strict monotheists. Both revered Jesus. Islam just didn't call him divine. There were actual Byzantine scholars and bishops in the 7th and 8th centuries who argued that Islam might be a kind of reformed Christian heresy rather than a foreign enemy religion. So the theological wall wasn't as thick as you'd think. Number 3, political desperation. Constantinople was surrounded. By the 8th century, Arab fleets had twice tried to blockade the city. Arab armies had pushed into Anatolia. The empire was fighting on multiple fronts with a fraction of its old power. Desperate rulers do desperate things. And conversion has been used as a political survival tool more than once in history. But here's the crazy part. In our alternate timeline, let's say a weakened emperor, let's call him a fictional successor to Heraclius, somewhere around 680 AD, makes the call. Not out of faith, out of survival. He sends an envoy to the Umayyad Caliphate. He offers conversion in exchange for protection, autonomy, and trade rights. He frames it as theological evolution, not defeat. Oh boy, here we go. The Umayyad Caliph accepts. Why wouldn't he? No siege, no casualties. The greatest city in the Christian world just handed itself over. Peacefully. Constantinople becomes a Muslim city a full 770 years before the Ottomans ever get near those walls. So what actually changes? Everything. First, the Crusades never happen. The Crusades were launched in 1095 specifically to recover Christian holy lands from Muslim rule and protect Christian pilgrims. But if the Byzantine Empire, the eastern shield of Christendom, had already converted, there's no unified Christian bloc to launch those wars. Pope Urban II has nobody to rally. The Latin West stays fractured. No Crusades means no sacking of Constantinople in 1204. No centuries of Christian-Muslim holy war defining the medieval age. Second, the Islamic world unifies differently. A Constantinople that converted voluntarily becomes a prestige prize, not a conquest. The city's wealth, its scholars, its libraries, its trade networks, all absorbed into the Islamic Golden Age. And the Islamic Golden Age, which ran roughly from 786 to 1258 AD and produced algebra, advanced medicine, and the preservation of Greek texts, gets even more powerful, even earlier. We're talking about a medieval superpower centered on the Bosphorus that controls both Europe's eastern gate and the Mediterranean trade routes simultaneously. But here's the kicker. Western Europe panics. Without Byzantium as a Christian buffer, the Catholic Church loses its eastern anchor. The Pope has no ally in the east. The Frankish kingdoms, the Holy Roman Empire, they face an Islamicized Constantinople as a direct neighbor. Do they convert too under pressure? Do they double down on Christianity and launch their own version of a defensive crusade? Does European identity form faster, more aggressively, because now there's a much clearer enemy at the door? And then there are the Ottomans. In our timeline, Mehmed II spent months battering those walls with 69 cannons in 1453 before they finally broke. It was one of the most dramatic sieges in human history. But in this alternate world, the Ottomans rise as a Turkic power inside an already Muslim Byzantine successor state. They don't conquer Constantinople, they inherit it. Or maybe they never become the dominant power at all, because there's no glorious conquest moment to build their empire's mythology around. And that's where things get interesting. Because empires aren't just built on territory, they're built on stories. The Ottomans became one of the longest-lasting empires in history, partly because of the symbolic weight of taking Constantinople. Take that moment away, and does the Ottoman Empire even exist in the same form? Does a different Turkic dynasty rise instead? Does Islamic civilization stay centered in Baghdad or Cairo rather than shifting to the Bosphorus? We'll never know for sure. And that's the honest answer. History isn't a machine with predictable outputs. It's a chain of human decisions. Desperate, ambitious, terrified decisions made by people who had no idea what century was watching them. What we do know is this. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 sent Greek scholars fleeing to Italy, carrying ancient manuscripts that helped ignite the Renaissance. It ended a 1,000-year empire. It reshaped Christianity, Islam, and European identity all at once. One city, one day, one cannon blast too many. And somewhere in a version of history we never got to see, an emperor sat in the Hagia Sophia and made a different choice. And the whole world became something we can barely imagine. But if you thought this alternate history was wild, wait until you hear about the actual fall of Constantinople, the real cannons, the real betrayal, and the last emperor who refused to run. Click this video right here.